Folks, we are live with a special edition of Everything Pro Wrestling. And this is episode 13. With me, I have a special guest, Max Pegasus, also known as VA Raphael. VA, say what's up to the people.
How you doing, people?
All right, guys, we are going to review what just ended, an incredible show, NXT TakeOver Dallas. VA, what did you think overall of the whole show right now? I want to hear your opinion on it.
As a whole, I feel like this was a great show for the wrestling fan. I have a fear that, WrestleMania is going to be for the casual fan, and they build NXT and these NXT shows for the more hardcore, quote unquote, wrestling fan. And you can sort of tell that the way they built all of the matches on the card and the way the actual matches progress, I think.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I have a fear right now that we were talking about it via Twitter. I have a fear that WrestleMania is not going to be able to live up to this. And I had a feeling, even knowing the card going into WrestleMania, that it wasn't going to live up to this. So I don't know if it's going to measure up. But we'll talk about that at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's get into the card. The first match on the card that we had was for the tag team titles. The Revival, a.k.a. the New School Brainbusters, the champions defending against American Alpha. The fans were crazy for the beginning of this match. I just couldn't believe it. And American Alpha walk away your new tag team champions after just some incredible spots and well-played psychology. The match got sloppy at times because I think they were trying to do a little bit too much. But overall, VA, what did you think of the tag title match?
No, I agree. I agree with what you said. This choice was a good.
Your mic's cutting in and out again, VA.
This was a good choice to lead with because it was, it got the crowd, well into it real quick. I mean, you could tell the crowd, they love American Alpha, and the Revival is a great tag team to put in there with them. Like you said, it did get a little choppy, a little sloppy at times. But again, I think I agree with what you said, that maybe they're trying to do a bit too much. But overall, I liked the match. I don't think it was the strongest match on the card, but it was certainly a great match nonetheless.
Yeah, I have to agree. I definitely think there's something there with Chad Gable. I'm not saying that it's time to give him a singles push or anything, but I'm thinking in the future, Chad Gable's got something. He has the Kurt Angle, I feel like. He gets this. He knows exactly what he's doing.
I'm with you 100% on that.
So after that match, we get new tag champs. We go right into Austin Aries versus Baron Corbin. And if anyone listened to episode 12, which can be found on the YouTube channel, we went back and forth on who needed this victory more. And I think they played it off just right in this match with Austin Aries getting a roll-up victory over Baron Corbin. And Baron Corbin dominated most of the match. VA, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think this match was well booked to get around the issue of Baron Corbin and then also Austin Aries' quote debut. So you give the guy debuting the win, but you still keep Baron Corbin somewhat strong, so that he can still have a legitimate, maybe continue another match with Aries, another one. So, I mean, I feel like this was booked very well. The match itself, it was okay. I don't know.
As I was telling you on Twitter, though, I was talking to Kevin about the same thing, and I basically told Kevin that he was like, "Oh, this match isn't as good as I thought it would be," and I said, "No, that's not it. They're slowing it down because they know they're the buffer match in between. You can't have 6 great matches because the fans will die out. The chants will stop, and it won't be good anymore." WWE masters that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's sort of as we were talking on Twitter, it sort of amazed me why they took Apollo Crews and Samson, right? They took them off of the main card, and I guess they put them in a dark match prior. So to not have that buffer at the very end, toward the end, the crowd was getting really unruly. You know what I mean? So what you talked to about that buffer match is very important. It sort of brings the crowd back down to a little bit more of a controlled pace. So you saw what happens when you don't have that buffer match. You had the three big matches back to back to back, and at the end, the crowd was just almost out of control. Like it was crazy.
Absolutely. The third match, which is, I'm going to call it match of the night, like I said in the episode 12 preview for this show when we were giving our thoughts and predictions. Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Oh my goodness. Both these guys put on a tremendous match. If you guys don't do anything else from this show, you don't even like listening to me, please go back and watch this match. It's something so different that it reminds you more of the New Japan style when you kind of watch this match. And I liked it a lot, and I thought it was done very well. Very hard-hitting match, and both guys delivered, in my opinion. BA, what are your thoughts overall of Sami Zayn and Nakamura?
For me, this was the best match of the night, and there was no question in my mind. When you put Sami Zayn, when you put Nakamura in the ring together, you're probably going to get some magic happening, and that's exactly what they delivered tonight. It's no mistake about it, no bones about it. I personally think Nakamura is the best wrestler on the planet right now. And when you put him in there with another wrestler that's very, very good, like Sami Zayn, not my personal favorite, but a very good, charismatic guy in his own right, you get great crowd reaction for both guys and fan interaction in the match. You get great back and forth action that the fans want to see. And everyone, at the end of the day, regardless of who wins, you can kind of say everyone goes home happy, and that's kind of what you want out of some of your matches. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them. And I was a little surprised that I believe Taz was on Twitter. I follow him, and he was lamenting a little bit about where are the heels? Where are all the heels on any of these shows? This was a strictly face, show from, bell to bell, since both Asuka and Nakamura weren't built as heels. They were just built as faces against other faces. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know.
That was something I was going to bring up too in the other match that I'll bring up. But with this match, there were some little things in it that I liked. I liked his entrance music. Nakamura's entrance music, beautiful. I liked it better than Aries, actually. They presented him very well in his style of how he acts and his charisma and everything. I thought they did a good job with it. It felt weird, though, watching someone, like, stomp each other the way they were. And I was like, man, I'm waiting for one of them to get, like, the boos or the heel reaction. But the fans were eating it up. I don't know how they would react on the main roster to something like that, but it was different.
I agree, and that you can't have a match like that all the time, but when you get one, and with the right people, you just get instant magic. I could talk about that match all night long, but we got to continue on.
Yeah. And then they went right actually into the NXT Women's Championship match here with Bayley versus Asuka. Another good match.
Absolutely. I think this match was only slightly, right behind, Nakamura and Sami Zayn. I mean, this match really, really delivered like you would hope it would, and as you expect it to with the two women in the ring. Two probably of the best women in the ring, in my opinion, and they're on the NXT roster, and they're not on the main roster. So
yeah, I felt that this match was presented very well, and I said if that match with Sami Zayn wasn't on the card, this would have been match of the night, hands down. These girls went out and delivered. They had a hard-hitting match, and I did like the fact that they do something different sometimes on NXT, basically where Asuka had her in a submission, Bayley fights to get out, and Asuka still holds on to it, which makes sense in an MMA, let's try and make this look real sense. And she kept the, I don't know if it's called the Asuka lock or the Buzz Killer, but she keeps her in the crossface chicken wing, basically, and locks her in again, and Bayley ends up pulling the Stone Cold and just passes out. which I think made Bayley look strong at the same point. And unlike in the previous match where they shook hands at the end because they're both faces, Asuka just stared at Bayley and basically was like, "Yeah, I took the belt like I said I would. Gotcha." And holds up the title. And I like that. I was like, please don't shake her hand because we don't need any more of the two faces, liking each other. So I thought that was well played out and that this match was awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, and I do also like the way they ended that match. I mean, after all of the succession of matches that Bayley has had as champion, I mean, this was the way for her to lose. I mean, if you're going to book her to lose, this is basically a plus on whoever booked the finish of this particular match, because this is like, okay, I get it. Bayley looked great in the match. Asuka was great in the match. And in the end, it took her having to be in that. She was in that chicken wing for a good while. And then, eventually did the passing out and the ref stopping the match, which I like. Every once in a while, it's good. They can't overuse some of these finishes. But in this case, it made a lot of sense. And I think that was a good choice.
I agree with you on that one. And then we get to the main event for the NXT title. We have Finn Balor taking on Samoa Joe. This match starts off crazy. Basically, Joe comes out, makes his usual tough guy entrance. I love it. And then Finn Balor comes out in demon-esque form. He's wearing a little bit of blue, and he comes out with the chainsaw representing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was different. Some people weren't liking it that I was watching it with. I thought it was pretty cool. I understood what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I was kind of making fun of it. I'm like, glad to see Dean Ambrose's chainsaw made it to Dallas.
I think if it had sparks, kind of like Chainsaw Charlie used to have coming out of it, I think it would have had a better effect. But
they would have gotten that message across with the Chainsaw Massacre idea better had they made it more like an electrical sort of, a pyrotechnic sort of thing, I agree with that. But I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, I'm not huge into, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those kinds of things. But I mean, it fits his character. It's a good different thing for him to do. So
I thought it was better than the Jack the Ripper in London. This is a hard-hitting match. Early on in the match, it looks like Finn may have accidentally headbutted Joe where they connected, and he basically split Joe's eye open on the one side, and Joe has a mean gusher. Yep. Lots of chants from the fans in this one. I don't know if WWE is going to edit those out or how they're going to do that, because there were a lot of FPG, Let Joe Bleed, lots of crazy things being shouted for the crowd.
Well, the crowd is they want to see that match, and they don't want to see the match interrupted by doctors every 5 seconds. I mean, we understand they got to be safe and everything, but you don't want to have doctors interrupting the match, every 5 minutes or whatever.
At the same token, though, you have to understand WWE's aspect from a legal standpoint. They want to look like they care about their performers. Not saying that they don't, but they have to show it now. So, because they're getting sued for concussion injuries and, oh, well, I was bleeding, and look, they didn't even stop the match or come take care of me. In boxing, they would have did that. That's the defense that people are going to try and use against them. So, at the same time, I understand WWE's standpoint from it. When will it ever stop? I don't know.
I mean, absolutely, you're absolutely right. I mean, but like I said, you can't help but have it ruin sort of the flow and the feel of a match when you have the doctors or the referee constantly, wiping someone's face or what have you. But again, I understand perfectly well, the ramifications of them maybe not doing that check, and maybe Joe loses too much blood, passes out, and some God forbid something happens. So I understand. But the crowd, they need to get a little bit more under control. But again, that goes back to what we said about not having the buffer match. I think that they were just so amped up that, after those two matches, that when Joe bled and the doctors came out, they lost it. They didn't want those doctors interrupting all of that, all of the momentum that this show had built.
Agreed. The match was a good back and forth match, very similar to NXT London. A couple kickouts for both guys, and the match ends with Joe putting Finn Balor in a sleeper. It looks like he was setting him up for the clutch, and he basically hit the a la Roddy Piper Bret Hart WrestleMania 8 moment on him, and got him with the pin off of that. Which is, we went back and forth on the finish. The people I was watching it with, and we were like, well, was that a lame finish or wasn't it? And it works, but I think at the same token, for wrestling fans who've watched it so much, that you kind of think like, all right, man, how do you not know to not reverse that or let go of the hold by now? Everyone's seen that match if you're a student of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's not like it's only been done once or whatever. But like Bret Hart repeated that against Stone Cold, while Stone Cold had the $1 Million Dream. I guess it was a Survivor Series, maybe. I
Yes.
forget. And so he did the same finish that same WrestleMania 8, Roddy Piper finish, where he flips over and gets the pin. And in a sense, it's a good finish from the sense that it's sort of a roll up in a sense, and so it's not a weak finish necessarily, but the logic behind not getting off of the hold or not releasing the hold, I never understood that. I don't know if it helps though in this case that Joe's a bigger guy. You know what I mean? So like when you back off of that turnbuckle and you kind of try to pin his shoulder. I don't know if it makes the finish better or worse. Maybe you can give an opinion on that. Does it make it weaker or better, the fact that Joe's bigger and could, and maybe
I think it would have looked better if Joe struggled to like kind of get out of it, and he kind of did. So, like I said, I'm not mad at it. I can live with it. I just don't. I hope I don't ever see that finish again with those two. You know what I mean? Like you use that once, you can never use it again if they have a trilogy of matches. Which now this leaves the question of who's next in line for the NXT title? Who might be getting called up to the main roster after this now? Is Bayley going up? There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, and I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to leave it at that for right now, but I want to get your last opinion on this. You get to pick one guy. Who's going after Finn Balor now after this? Is it Joe again? Do you go Baron Corbin? What are you thinking?
The next I'm not entirely. However, I feel like the guy that takes the belt off of Balor ends up being Nakamura. Whenever that match happens, that's the guy that takes the belt off of him. I think. I mean, because there's no one right now that I would give that NXT belt to. I mean,
what about Hideo?
All right, Hideo is a possibility after he comes, but you got to rebuild him, as a legitimate contender after being gone all that time. So, that's a real good question because there's a lack of legitimate number one contenders for Finn Balor, in my opinion.
Because Cruz lost, Aries is kind of new, Corbin lost, Joe lost twice now. So do you give Joe another spot? It's in a tough spot to say for right now.
Do they sign Bobby Roode now and have him jump in and be the next challenger? He was there. We didn't talk about that. He was.
Yes, Bobby Roode was in the crowd. Who else was in the crowd?
Ibushi was
Ibushi. There was a lot of people in the crowd tonight that were noticeable faces, and when you see someone in the crowd in NXT, that usually means they're getting signed. Yeah. Just lots of good stuff. Overall, though, this was an awesome show. I highly recommend everyone check it out. I hope everyone's enjoying their WrestleMania weekend. Shout outs to Y2K, Iron Man. Those guys are out at the event. Hope you guys are having fun, and make sure you check out WrestleMania. And if you haven't, check out Everything Pro Wrestling on YouTube. We got a bunch of videos up. We got great guests. I got to thank BA for coming on last minute, speaking to him on Twitter. Appreciate you for doing that, brother.
No problem.
And that's it. VA, you got any shout outs you want to give before I end the video?
No.
All right. Well, this is Everything Pro Wrestling, and we are signing out. Thank you.